Okay. So, New Democrats are taking the allegations of foreign interference very seriously. That's why, as leader, I'm here to ask those questions directly to Mr. Johnston. I'm going to make it very clear that I'm disappointed that he remains the special rapporteur despite the will of the House having voted that he should be removed. I'm going to make it clear that I disagree with his finding around not calling a public inquiry. And I want to ask some questions about how he came to these conclusions, which I disagree with strongly.
How do you strike the balance, or how do you explain to voters why you are both pushing for David Johnston to resign, why you take it so seriously that you're the one appearing at committee, but at the same time that you still support the government overall and want this government to continue?
Well, what we're doing is the government's supporting us, in fact, in our initiatives. They're supporting dental care, which they voted against 2 times in the past. They do not want to bring it in. They did not want to bring it in. We're forcing them to do it.
Prime Minister Trudeau, not Prime Minister Singh. So you are,
here's the facts,
supporting the government.
There's 27 things. Each one of those things are things that the government opposed, voted against, or did not want to make happen that we are making happen. This government's supporting us to make things happen for Canadians. Dental care, pharmacare, supports for workers. These are all things that the government is opposed to, voted against, said clearly they did not want to do, and we're making them do it. So of course we're not going to let the government off the hook. They would absolutely love to not deliver on dental care. They would love to not deliver on pharmacare. They would love to not deliver on protections for workers. We're forcing them to do these things. At the same time, we're holding them accountable for this.
You are letting the government off the hook, though, in the sense that last week Parliament called specifically for Mr. Johnston to resign and a public inquiry. They're ignoring both of those things. They've made that very clear.
That's an answer that the government, the Prime Minister, is going to have to answer to Canadians. We are doing our job as opposition, making it very clear we disagree with the findings of not having a public inquiry. We're making that very clear. We're forcing votes on this. We're making it very clear we disagree with the fact that the Prime Minister hasn't called a public inquiry. We're disagreeing strongly, and we're making that disagreement known.
Est-ce que M. Johnston peut dire quelque chose en comité aujourd'hui qui va vous faire changer d'idée à l'effet qu'il est peut-être finalement l'homme de la situation? Ou si vous, c'est final bâton, comme on dit?
C'est final par rapport au fait qu'il y a une apparence de partialité trop forte pour qu'il puisse continuer de faire son travail. C'est impossible pour lui de continuer de faire son travail quand il y a une apparence de partialité assez forte. Et maintenant, il y a une autre nouvelle qui a été soulevée, le fait que Mme Bloch était dans une levée de fonds avec le Premier ministre. Donc, on a plusieurs exemples. Ce n'est pas quelqu'un qui appuie le gouvernement libéral dans une manière légère. Elle était vraiment une ardente donatrice du gouvernement libéral, du Parti libéral. Donc, c'est clair qu'il y a une apparence de partialité non tenable.
When are you going to brief on the annex, and who are you bringing with you?
That's the problem.
So, on the briefing, we're waiting for the next steps. We've made it clear that I will accept the briefing. I think that's a sign of a leader that's really taking this seriously, willing to look at the evidence and be able to give my opinion. I've asked for confirmation that I can have the same latitude that Mr. Johnston had to provide his opinion. That's been given verbally, but we're waiting for a written confirmation of that latitude that I should also be able to give my opinion, which I will be giving. And we're waiting for the next steps. I'll let you know as soon as that's set up.
En français, avez-vous une idée de la date? Parce qu'une cote de sécurité, ça peut prendre plusieurs semaines, voire des mois. Donc, on n'aura pas plus d'idées claires sur ce que vous pensez des documents.
On n'a pas reçu une date spécifique ni des détails de combien de temps ça va prendre, mais je vais vous aviser quand j'ai reçu les nouvelles. Mais je suis le seul chef de parti d'opposition qui a accepté cette offre. Je pense que ça montre le fait qu'on est responsable, on prend au sérieux ces allégations. Et on veut voir les documents, on veut voir l'information pour donner mon opinion.
En disant, mes conclusions sont finales, M. Johnston n'est plus l'homme de la situation, et en disant, mes conclusions, c'est qu'il faut une commission d'enquête, est-ce que vous prêtez pas flanc à la critique des libéraux qui pourraient dire, il va poser des questions à M. Johnston en étant de mauvaise foi, en ayant déjà ses conclusions faites, il va regarder les documents en étant de mauvaise foi, en ayant déjà ses conclusions faites. Est-ce que vous prêtez flanc et vous leur donnez des munitions aux libéraux de pouvoir dire ça?
Je veux analyser cette question parce que quand je parle de le fait que M. Johnston ne peut pas continuer comme rapporteur spécial, c'est à cause de l'apparence de partialité. Donc ça, c'est quelque chose qui ne change pas avec ses réponses parce que l'apparence est là. L'apparence est causée par le fait qu'il a choisi comme avocat principal une avocate qui a donné des fonds directement au gouvernement, au Parti libéral depuis longtemps et des grands montants des fonds. Donc, cette apparence est là. Donc, ça ne change pas. Ça, c'est pourquoi je dis qu'il doit se enlever de cette position parce que comment on peut continuer de faire le travail, de restaurer la confiance si il a cette apparence de partialité, ça nuit aux efforts de restaurer la confiance.
Then
What
why
if she
why
resigns
even have
instead?
him here today? You're saying that there's nothing he can say that would change your mind, that he should be resigning. Doesn't this then seem like a big waste of his time and your time? If nothing's going to change, it makes no difference whatsoever.
Well, there are things that we're going to find out today. So it's not going to change the fact that the appearance of bias is so strong that it does not allow him to continue to do the work of restoring confidence. That's there and that can't change. The appearance of bias is established because of the number of examples, but for us, the main example is the chief lawyer that he engaged to work with this file was someone who's so closely affiliated with the Liberal Party. The appearance to a reasonable person is just too strong. But I still want to understand how he came to conclusions that he came to. How did he come to the conclusions? We'll ask questions about a very different conclusion that Mr. O'Toole presented around CSIS briefing and a very different conclusion that he found in his report. I want to ask him to explain why there's such a difference there. I'll ask him some other questions about substance in his report, how he came to certain conclusions, and maybe he can clarify those things.
Bernardo, j'aimerais juste vous entendre sur Bernardo, M. Singh.